From folklore and fairies
to monsters and mysteries, it came from the Maritimes. The Witch of Fall River, my co-host, Chelsea.
He would like to live deliciously. My co-host, Evan.
Howdy everyone, welcome to It Came From The Maritimes. Today's topic is the fortune-telling female known as Mother Coo, also known as the Witch of the Miramichi. As a warning, today's episode discusses death. Also, I'd like to thank Heidi from work for bringing this topic to my attention.
Thank you, Heidi.
Just to go back, I know that calling women females is a weird thing. I did it just for the alliteration.
It worked very well.
Thank you. Who is Mother Coo? Ellen Creighton, as far as I can tell, no relationship to Helen Creighton, was born in the 1800s when her family was emigrating to Canada from Scotland. She grew up in Miramichi, New Brunswick, where she married Edward Coo. The couple eventually moved to Stellarton, Nova Scotia, and raised 6 children. This is a lovely life that she lived, but what she is better known for is her fortune-telling abilities.
I am so excited for this topic. I really didn't know much about Mother Coo until Evan mentioned that he was going to be covering her, but it sounds like it's going to be so interesting.
It was brought up to me by Heidi, and since then I have been fascinated. You can ask Allie, I have not shut up about this for months.
Oh, I can't wait to learn more.
She was known locally as a fortune teller. She would often read fortunes by tea leaves and tarot cards for those who were interested. While some decried her activities as occult, she was also known as a pillar of the community and would nurse people back to health when others were afraid of possible contagiousness. Most simply ignored her fortune telling, but many of the women in the community would go to her and found she had shocking accuracy. It was enough that when she predicted an explosion at the Drummond mine in Westville, many women in the neighborhood hid their husbands' boots to try to prevent them from going to work.
Goodness.
While some tried to say it was a coincidence, the explosion in the mine killed 70 people.
Oh my goodness.
It seemed like it was a thing of, at the start, she just was reading fortunes, reading tea leaves, tarot cards, stuff like that. But then one day she just said, oh, there's going to be a disaster. It was mostly the women in the community who would go to her for services. And they were the ones who kind of were like, oh, well, you've been right about so many things before. And they trusted her. And obviously she was right.
Do you know, did it ever come up in your research? And I totally understand if it didn't, because I feel like the details of this wouldn't necessarily have been reported on. But did she use the tea leaves to make this prediction, or?
It's never said how she predicted the mine disasters. So it's hard to say, and the places where there is information always has conflicting sources, and it's all a little bit strange, but they never really say how she predicted the mine disasters.
Oh, it's so interesting, regardless.
So later, in 1880, Mother Coo predicted a similar event at the Ford Pit in Stellarton. There were several incidents that year, so it's difficult to stamp down what she actually predicted, but it was a disastrous year either way. Bad surveying led to them breaking into old water-filled mines on several occasions, leading to the death of 6 men and 9 horses. Some say that she predicted loss of life by water, while others say the detail was added after the fact. Later that year, an explosion killed 44 men on the east side of the mine, with miners on the west side escaping through interconnected pits. Later, there was an explosion on the west side, and the whole mine was flooded. One interesting fact is that some sources say these disasters were predicted to the day, but the prediction was made in 1866. Now remember, this disaster happened in 1880, and in 1866, the mine wasn't even open yet.
Interesting.
Some sources also say that a local priest denounced Mother Coo as a witch. Some of them say that it had a great effect on her standing in the community, while others say that no one really paid it any mind.
That's what bothers me about back in the day. It's like any woman who has, who's vocal about unique thoughts or has healing abilities and is helping people, immediately, she's a witch in a bad way, which we've already talked about this on the podcast. We think being a witch is a positive thing, but it's just the historical depictions are not so much.
It sounds like she was quite positive, like she would go to people who were possibly having contagious diseases and nurse them back to health and things like that. So
yeah, she was doing great things.
Exactly, yeah. And she was known to be a real pillar of the community around that. In fact, I have a quote about her here where someone said, "Without fear and very kind-hearted, if there was a person sick of a contagious disease and no one could nurse them, she would go and stay until all danger was over. Yet she did not do it for money. Her fame as a fortune teller was widespread through the community. To get back to the mine disasters, the most prominent prediction was at Spring Hill Mine Number 1 in 1891. To clarify, there are 2 other Spring Hill mine disasters in the 1950s that this is not referring to. Depending on the story, people say she predicted an explosion before Easter or before May. Due to her track record, the predictions caused fear in the community. Miners were known to be very superstitious and wanted everything checked. Due to the predictions, there was a special inspection of the Spring Hill Mine Number 1 on February 19, 1891, and everything was found in good working order. A regular inspection was done the next day and also found that everything was normal. There is even a note from the mine manager, Henry Swift, that read, "Everything is normal as far as I know." Unfortunately, it was not, and it was the deadliest mining disaster in Nova Scotia history. 125 people died that day, including 16 boys under the age of 16, though some of these numbers differ based on the source. This was a tragic event that is still taught in Nova Scotia schools and prominent in many communities. While it is uncertain how it could have been missed with the extra inspections, the prediction came true, and disaster did happen.
That's so tragic.
I know, and they even did the extra checks. As long as those checks were up to par, they did everything right, but it's just hard to say what they could have done different. Mother Coo moved to Boston after her husband died, and in 1912 died after a fall. It is unknown if she predicted any other disasters.
Mother Coo, I think the thing that sticks with me the most is even though it wasn't the right year, the fact that one of the disasters was predicted like to the day.
Yeah.
It's just like with probabilities and whatnot, there's a chance of anything being predicted that could happen, but it's just like it's so specific.
Oh, so the one, it was predicted like 14 years ahead of time.
Oh!
To the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So now I'm like...
Before the mine was even open. So that's one of the sources says that, but the others don't. It's hard to find good information on Mother Coo, and it's harder to find information that aligns with all of the other information.
Right? Well, I hope that's true because that is so cool. It's all cool regardless, but that's so fascinating.
It really is. So just to go a little bit, fortune telling is very prominent throughout history. And you can find records in 1st century telling of people reading crystal balls. There are many methods that are popular, including tarot cards, palm reading, astrology, augury, which is looking at the flight of birds
to
tell the future. Exactly. Crystal balls, clairvoyance, spirit boards, and the most accurate, games girls play at slumber parties to figure out what the first letter of the name of the person that they will marry is.
Hey, don't say anything bad about those. There's some real weight to those games.
Exactly. And while there's many reasons to doubt, it is of interest to many, and whether for fun or to help guide lives, it can bring people guidance. Now, speaking of all these, I think we're going to try to do a slumber party style reading of your fortune.
Yes.
I have 2 versions here.
What a blast from the past.
The first one is a classic cootie catcher that I made. We have 4 colors here. It's a little hard for you to see, but there's blue, purple, red, and green. Can you choose one?
Green.
Green. Can you choose a number?
5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can you choose another number?
3.
3. All right. So we're going to tell Chelsea's future. Oh, no. You will have bad luck.
Oh, no. Not bad luck.
Now, Chelsea, do you want to read my future?
I would love to. Right. Which color?
Let's go purple.
This is...
You can use 2 hands if it's easier.
Yeah. Evan was doing this one-handed. There's no way I can. Purple. I just had a moment where I didn't know if I could spell purple. So.
Let's go... Is that 4?
Yes. I just moved it 4 times. I'm not good at counting it out.
Perfect. And can I go with a 7, please?
Okay, let's see. Oh, this is a good one. Evan's fortune is that Jeff will give him $10.
Looking at you, Jeff. Get that wallet out.
That was so much fun. Thank you.
All right, now I'll leave it up to you, but I don't know how to do this well. But if you want a very poor and slow tarot card reading, I did bring my tarot cards.
Ho, ho, ho. You came prepared with all the stops today.
I have my guided tarot box set.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So what we're going to do is 3-card reading, past, present, future
Wonderful.
for Chelsea. We got a nice Rider-Waite-Smith deck here. Got all the cards. I'm going to shuffle them up, and then we'll have Chelsea cut the deck.
I'm ready.
I'm not very good at shuffling these. They're just big.
They are.
I don't know who can shuffle these. I have big hands, and I'm having trouble.
They are a handful.
All right. Now, Chelsea, can you cut the deck for us and put the other part on top? And now can you set out 3 cards in front of you?
Oh.
So we're doing 3, and it's for the past, present, and the future. For the past, she drew the King of Wands. Now, let's see. The King of Wands means power and authority. The general reading may represent a person who embodies the qualities of leadership, authority, stability, and calm in the face of adversity. So that's your past. Have you been a leader?
I was the head of the leadership community in my residence at university, so.
And Chelsea, I think you've been a leader to me.
Oh, thank you. That's so kind.
Now, what's our next one? That looks like the 5 of Wands.
Yes, and the card for the folks at home looks like a bunch of people hitting each other with sticks.
You see, I see this as like, you know how boys just love sticks?
Yeah.
Like, not in like a crude way, but just like, it's just like a bunch of guys being like, check out this stick that I found. That's what I think it is. So this is for the present. The 5 of Wands often shows up when you are steeped in conflict or disagreement and asks you to consider how to handle yourself during these situations. It also indicates competition between qualified parties all vying for the same position, such as applying for the same job. I'm not going to ask you in particular what conflict you're in. That sounds a bit personal.
Well, that's because Evan doesn't know we're fighting for who's the head of the podcast.
Oh.
I'm just kidding. Equal partnership.
I'm actually going to be the CEO of It Came From The Maritimes, Inc. You guys don't know it yet. And now, for future, you got the Devil.
Which is a very ominous looking card for folks who have not seen it themselves. There's 2 people chained to a pillar that the devil is perched upon.
Yeah, and they're nude too.
They
have little horns. The Devil comes as a gentle confrontation about self-destructive thoughts or behaviors. Using your intuition, ask yourself what unhealthy habits or coping mechanisms you are present in your life. Identifying the fears that lead to self-sabotaging behavior doesn't have to be a scary process. So it sounds like more just like, it is the new year, so maybe just set some resolutions for your future is
like
more
it.
what that is. I was expecting a lot scarier from the Devil. This guy's a spooky guy.
Yeah, the devil's like not like it looks scarier than the interpretation sounds for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
that was so fun.
I feel like I want to bring you a slumber party type of experience when it comes to these of reading it out of a book, because it's not like I have it memorized.
I love it. Now I feel like I need some like classic slumber party snacks.
Jeff, give me those $10. We'll go get some chips.
That was so fun. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this episode of It Came From The Maritimes. You can find us on social media on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at It Came From The Maritimes. And if you have any Atlantic Canada folklore you would like to see covered in a future episode, or any spooky encounters of your own, email us at itcamefromthemaritimes@gmail.com. If you enjoy our podcast, please leave us a 5-star review. It helps people find us. At the end of every episode, we like to end with a folklore tip. This isn't anything serious, just a bit of fun that we like to have at the end of an episode. So, Chelsea, will you share our tip with us?
I will. This is another classic from one of Helen Creighton's books. On the East Coast, it's considered bad luck to run into a woman on your way to work in the mine.
Well, especially if it's Mother Coo.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for listening.
Bye.